I hereby call to order this December 10th, 2021 public hearing of the City of Prescott Preservation Commission. Members present at this meeting are Mary Ann Suttles, James McCarver. Is Richard Sprain on?
Yeah, he's right there. Yeah.
Am I not on the list?
Yeah, he's right there.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Richard.
I'm a little invisible.
You're usually over here. Richard Sprain, mostly here. Michael Mirko, Mike King,
I'm here.
Rob Johnson, and I'm Robert Burford, the chair. This is an open public hearing, and it is being videotaped and tape recorded by the city. The proceedings are being televised by representatives of the public media, local cable, and/or radio stations, and may also be rebroadcast. The number of commission members present is 7. It will require 4 votes for a majority on any issue. All parties wishing to be heard on an issue are required to raise their hands and be recognized by the chair prior to speaking. Speakers will be expected to state their name and address for the record up here at the podium with the microphone. Speakers will be expected to state their name and address once again for the record so that we may know who is speaking and be able to contact them at a later date as necessary. Please turn off your cell phones, electronic devices, and if you haven't done so already, please sign the attendance roster before leaving the meeting. And with that, we'll go to our first order of business. Which is the approval of the minutes from the November 20th, 2021 meeting.
November 12th.
November 12th.
November 12th, 2021 meeting.
November the 12th, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move we accept the minutes from our November 12th meeting 2021.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Richard? The motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the November 12th, 2021 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It carries unanimously. Our next item of business is HP 21-008, 202 South Montezuma Street. Its historic preservation district is number 1, Courthouse Plaza, and there is a request for approval for signage for a new business, Colt Grill Barbecue, and I understand we can all remember that we already approved certain portions of this, and now this project is coming back in for signage approval. I would also step back one moment and remind myself and all those listening that also present are Kat Moody, Historic Preservation Specialist, Bryn Stotler, the Community Development Director, and George Worley, the Planning Manager. I neglected to acknowledge those. And Kaylee Nunez, the Recording Secretary. Thank you. Okay, back to our next agenda item. I will turn HP 21-008 over to Ms. Moody for a description.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. As stated, this is an item for a sign request for the Colt Barbecue Grill. And we have seen the remodel and have approved through the Preservation Commission process the remodel for this conversion of this business from what was most recently a just a retail shop, cigar company, convenience store use. It's previously been used as an Eco3 oil change and a thrift store. So we've reviewed a lot of signs and business changes at this location through the years. The building is not listed in the National Register. It was originally a gas station on this corner. Prior to that, there was the Scopel Hotel, and I've shown in the past pictures of that iteration of this property with a large 3-story hotel building sitting on this corner. The request today is specifically for signage for the Colt Barbecue Grill, and so I was out at the site yesterday and taking pictures of the current state of the remodel that's occurring there. And this also gives you a good view of the color palette that's being used on this building. There was much discussion about the black painted brick when we did review this remodel, and then the gold trim on the windows is a contrast. So I'm going to go down through these images just to give you, and I'm sure you all drive by here and have been out to this site, but this is the current state of construction for this remodel of a restaurant. The main front door is located here on the north side of the building. And then you can see this is moving west along that face of the building. So although the front door is here, the signage is being proposed on this angled, 45-degree angled facet, and this is facing the plaza. This stem wall you see here and this piping is all part of the smoker. So there will be walls and an additional component to the structure here to enclose the smoker room. I believe they've had some requirements for fire code that have required some additional work to be done. And so that's why this is still sitting open. To look at the plan view. So we were just looking at this smoker element, this 45-degree angled section. You can see here they've indicated the sign will be placed right over those doors, or the smoker, centered over the smoker, 45-degree angled wall facet. The signage that's being proposed, we'll do the overview first. And I had sent out an additional email once your packet went out earlier this week. The applicant gave me a revised signage graphic. The only change from the original graphic is the inclusion of the gold frame around the sign to match the gold trim on the windows. So the sign itself is pretty much the same as what was originally presented. So you can see this is that angled wall facet. The sign measures 72 inches high by 101 inches wide. And I have a close-up view of that sign here, identifying the business with the steer head and then Whiskey Row, Prescott, Arizona underneath. And the sign is indicated to be illuminated, but I do not have information on whether it's going to be back illuminated or illuminated overhead. And I did contact the business owner, and they did verify they would be here this morning at 8 o'clock, and I don't believe that's the case. So I do not have anybody to answer additional questions beyond what I can answer on this item. And with that, I will turn it over to you all for discussion.
I have one question.
Uh-huh.
The signage and the doors underneath,
Uh-huh.
are those doors going to be public use or just to get to those cookers
They're just to get to the cookers.
by the people themselves?
Right.
Okay.
So these double doors here are for the staff to be able to go out and service the cookers. And as a patron, you'll be able to see out those glass doors and see them working in that area, but the public's not intended to go into the smoker room.
And if I could add, the smoker room is going to be an actual walls and roof. and-
Exactly. So on this stem wall, there will be an actual wall and roof.
So this signage is more to be seen from further away than close by.
Well, I think it'll be pretty visible given the size. 72 inches high by 101 wide is pretty close, fills that entire facet of the
Okay.
space above the doors. So the idea with the signage, I think, is that by placing one sign on the 45-degree angle section, it's visible from both Goodwin Street and Montezuma Street and across diagonally across from the plaza.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a pretty common, issue that people, businesses on corners face, because if they were to have placed signage above this, main entry door, it wouldn't be visible from Montezuma necessarily. So the idea here is to place it on the angled section of wall for greatest visibility from the surrounding streets.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the materials are?
The material is an aluminum panel with a vinyl graphic overlay. And I've got one additional image here from let me show you some additional detailing. This was from the original submission. And it does have calls out several of, bolt details, decorative bolt details on the sign, and also identifies the mounting technique that's going to be used for the sign.
So the actual letters will be projected out from the wall itself. It looked to me like that was like the signs were different panels.
No, so the sign is just offset on studs from the wall.
The lettering will be.
Well, I think the entire panel, from my understanding, from what's been presented here.
So it looks to me like the Colt is one panel offset. The grill is another panel below it offset.
I don't believe so.
Showing is each of the letters is projected an inch off of the background. So each letter is then extending out.
Okay. Yeah, so George just weighed in on this, and he agrees with you that each of the letters is an individual panel that stands off the background of the black background.
Sorry, I didn't intend to speak today. Given that design, the only way to really light that is either halo light it, which doesn't work well if the background's black, or to have gooseneck fixtures, which are much more common in the downtown. So we would hope to see gooseneck fixtures.
And they did show gooseneck fixtures when we approved the remodel plans. The lighting just wasn't featured as part of the submission. That was an item I wanted to clear up with the applicant this morning, but they're not
So
here.
they'll have to bring that back to the commission for the lighting.
Not necessarily. I mean, they did show the goosenecks on the remodel plan, so you can approve the sign with gooseneck lighting, and then they would need to follow through with that.
Are there other comments? Go ahead.
Some
Jim.
questions.
Jim.
Size of the sign, are there any codes or restrictions on how big of a sign you can have?
Yes, there are. Not necessarily specific to a historic district, but the sign code certainly puts limits on the size of signs available. Because this building has two frontages and sits on a corner, they have a very large sign allocation because it's the building frontage that ultimately determines the allotted square footage available, and this does meet the requirement.
Okay,
It's
and
within that.
there's going to be a roof over the smoker room, and as far as we can tell, that's not going to obstruct the sign, the visibility of the sign. It'll be below this, extend out below the sign.
Yes, I believe that's the case. They wouldn't be putting the sign in that location if otherwise.
Yeah.
So they need that. They need that roof to not project up above. As I recall, I think it's just an angled shed roof that.
With an open front?
No, I don't believe it's open. It had walls on all three sides.
Mr. Chairman, not relating necessarily, but do the other two Colts, the one in PV and the one in Sedona, have a smoker room to the restaurant?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I've never been to any of their restaurants. They do. They do.
Okay.
Tammy's been there, I guess.
I know, right? It's good. I don't have enough coffee this morning. Hi, Tammy DeWitt, a community planner. I have the first one was in Cottonwood, and they do have a smoker in their side area where you have outdoor dining. The one in the village of Oak Creek still hasn't opened. They had issues with the county, and I'm trying to remember the plans. I think there was a smoker out there because they were creating a new outdoor patio a couple years ago, and then the one in PV does too.
Okay.
That's pretty common for them because all those barbecue places attract them from the smoker.
And that's what I had tend to think. This is not recreating their smoker room. It's just continuing in what they've had in other
Yes.
restaurants.
All their other three ones do also.
Thank you.
And I would like to acknowledge Tammy DeWitt, our community planner here. I overlooked that this morning earlier. Thank you.
She was masked. You didn't see her.
Yeah, thank you. So, Kat, just so I'm clear, if we approve this sign, do we have to approve it with the lighting since it was in that plan? Or if we only approve the sign without the gooseneck, they'll have to come back to get that approved? Or will that just fall back to the prior approval for the plan?
I would recommend being specific and approving it with the gooseneck lighting as it was presented on the original remodel plans. That's what they've shown us. They gave several examples of light fixtures that they liked the aesthetic of. There's no reason to think they've changed their mind. And if they come back and their sign has a completely different lighting scheme, then at that point we would have to bring them back if they want to do something substantially different.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Hi.
I apologize for not understanding what we approved before because the smoking activity is now more visible to me, and I understand more what that's all about. Is that good? You said three-sided. Do you know if is it a bunker style? Can you look into it? Or just what would that view look like as they build the walls up? Anybody know here?
I am not sure if they're having to revise some of the design elements on that smoker room to meet fire code.
Fire, yeah.
And that's a safety issue. My recollection was that there was a couple of windows out to the street from the smoker room, and primarily to provide light. Not that you couldn't look in through those windows, but it's not intended to be something you would view into from outside.
Yeah, and use the natural light, because if it's dark in there all the time, you will need light.
Yeah.
You'll
yeah.
be opening the smokers, so there will be not all of the smoke is going to go up through the chimney. It's going to boil around inside that room.
Yeah, it's got an extensive ventilation system that's part of that.
Well, thank you.
Are there other comments or notes of interest? Then I would entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take a stab at this. I recommend that we approve HP 21-008 for the sign approval at this new business, Colt Grill. I also, to include it in that is the lighting that was previously approved, which is the gooseneck lighting to the sign.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marianne. I have a motion and second to approve HP 21-008 signage with the understanding that the gooseneck light fixtures previously submitted will be a part of this approval. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, it carries. The next item is any update of current events or other bits of information from anyone?
Let me just take us back to the agenda here. My only update is that it's that time of year again when we like to go out and photograph the work that this commission has previously approved. So I'll be looking for a volunteer or two volunteers to go out and photograph previously approved work. So if you're willing to do that, please let me know. I can assemble a list and get things together with a brief description of what we approved at that address, and then in January or February, we will be able to run through that presentation and just take a look and see where things are at.
Thank you, and I'm sure we have photographic experience on this commission. We'll look forward to that. If there are no other items,
I got a question. Do we know who our council person is going to be?
Our new council liaison is Steve Shishka, who was previously our council liaison. So he's familiar with the work that you all do here.
thank you. Can we move towards adjournment? I adjourn this.
Wait, you have just
oh,
have a quick
sorry.
one, Mr.
I didn't-
Chairman. Do we have a calendar for next year? Is that on ours, or you're going to send it to us?
I will send it to you.
Okay.
Yes, and I realize because of your radio show, you really need to plan in advance for this. So I will work on the calendar today, and I'll get it off to you by the end of the day.
And again, between you and I, that's fairly easy. I just need to know those dates.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I just need to look through and make sure we don't have a conflict with one of our normally scheduled second Friday dates. Occasionally, the Historic Preservation Conference falls on that same week, and when that happens, we usually shift the meeting forward or back to allow, for that conflict. So that's the main thing that I have to take a look at.
And with that, I will adjourn this December 10th, 2021 public hearing of the City of Prescott Preservation Commission.
Thank you, Mr.